Hello, and welcome to the Charles River Conservancy Parkland Show. My name is Renata from Tscharner. I'm the founder and president of the Charles River Conservancy, and today we are going to talk about festivities on the Charles River, and welcome Charlotte DeWitt.
Thank you so much, Renata.
Charlotte has been doing festivals all over the world, and when we think of festivals here on the Charles, it is the 4th of July, it's the River Festival, it's River Sing. But there could be many others and many wonderful festivals, and you will hear examples from all over the world. And I'll let Charlotte tell us of what she has done in this country, in Europe, and in other parts of the world, because she is the expert on festivals. So Charlotte, take it from here, and we are looking at what you have to tell us about events on the water.
Okay, well, thank you, Renata, very much for the opportunity to share some of these globe-trotting ideas about festivals and events with your viewers. And you've done so much with the Charles. It's just a real honor to be here and participate in your program tonight. I'd like to give you a little snapshot of my background. I started in festivals and events long before they were recognized as an important part of waterfront redevelopment. And cities would fix up their waterfronts, but then nobody would come visit because they didn't think there was anything happening. Today I'd like to show you some examples of waterfront festivals and international events that are both unique and innovative. And maybe there might be some ways that you could adapt these ideas, massage them a little bit to activities along the Charles River. In 1979, I started an American company called Waterfront Festivals, and I pioneered a new idea of destination marketing using water-related events and arts festivals along the river's edge or the ocean's edge as a magnet to bring people to a newly revitalized seaport or waterfront city. And these waterfront festivals were trademarked, and a brand association was associated with them. The concept grew, and in the late 1980s, yes, the 1980s, we were invited to promote the world's only floating cinema in New York City. Audiences brought blankets and picnics to the water's edge to watch movies on a floating screen. And the floating cinema is now in the Guinness Book of World Records. In 1991 and 92, I was the chairman of the International Festivals and Events Association, and preparations for our worldwide convention in the Netherlands brought me often to Europe. As a result, I founded IFEA Europe, the European affiliate, and moved to Sweden in 1994 to head up IFEA's new European office at the Stockholm Water Festival. And on the screen, what you see, I produced a lot of behind-the-scenes conferences to teach festival professionals while seeing festivals in action. And I'm going to share some of these ideas with you tonight. In 1997, I started International Events Limited, immersed myself in the millennium, and produced a summit meeting, which you can see in the center of the dome in Greenwich, England, inviting millennium organizers from all over the world to come there and collaborate. This, of course, led me on assignments all around the world, but perhaps the most thrilling of these was producing 2 successive Chinese New Year's celebration finales in Singapore, including the finale of their Millennium Chinese New Year. So I've been visiting the Charles, thanks to you, and walking around and doing some urban hiking, and I have to admit I'm fascinated with the bridges, and I keep thinking, well, what sort of ideas might work here? In order to think about programming on the Charles River, in order to draw people down here, one of the first questions we have to ask is, what is unique? Festivals do not have to be large to be innovative. Here you see the waterside chamber music concerts at the Vestfold Festival in Norway, where the people sit on the rocks and listen to musicians, the wonderful water fire down in Providence, Rhode Island, and the Wellfleet Oyster Festival on Cape Cod, all unique in their own right. And now what we're going to do is a little globe trotting, I'm warning you.
All right, so I just want to pull us back here. You're going to see a lot of different festival ideas. And if you feel you would like to learn more, at the end you will see a website. You can go to
Yes.
Charlotte's
Yeah.
website
Yeah.
where she has written up all those festivals. So don't worry if you can't catch it all. And this show will also be on YouTube, so you can go back and look at it. You can find it there. But I will give it back to Charlotte so she can take us on her whirlwind tour.
All right, fasten your seatbelts, here we go. So Wausau has a festival called Revisions Festival, and it had some of the most creative, adaptive reuse of space I've ever seen. In the upper right corner is a poetry bus that drove around with poets reading their work to a mobile, captive, obviously, audience. But the one place I loved the most, I discovered while waiting for a performance of Stravinsky's ballet. And if you look closely above the red seats in the corner there, you'll see the number 5. We were seated in a swimming pool, an empty swimming pool, but it was from the deep end to the shallow, and the stage was where the diving board used to be. And I know there's an empty, abandoned swimming pool along the Charles.
It's the Lee pool you're referring to.
So there's an idea. Now we're going to see some ideas with bridges. And this one is in Belgium. If you can see the imagery, it's actually a floating barge with an orchestra on it going underneath the arch of a bridge. And this is one of the many festivals that's participating in a huge cataloging of European festivals and events funded by the European Union. But there's no reason why that couldn't be a Dixieland band on a duck boat or something like that going down the Charles. It's just, if it floats, you should be able to do something with it.
Yeah.
So, again, more bridges. This is the wonderful riverfront celebration in Columbus, Ohio. And used a lot of local participation with people lining the bridges with candles and torches. And there was actually a central water performance area you can see with a floating stage and another bridge. And out from underneath this bridge came this big, huge dinosaur or dragon. And the Boy Scouts protecting the stage had paddle boats, and they shot flaming arrows into the dinosaur, who then exploded into flames. And lots
on purpose.
On purpose, yes.
Very good.
Very dramatic.
Good. I'm going to push you forward on purpose because you have a long trip ahead of you.
I do. Okay, so Rotterdam in the Netherlands designated itself the City of Architecture, and during the festival, it started a festival, it did an event that they called Fire Limits. And this was the bombardment and the destruction of this core area of Rotterdam by the Nazis during World War II was commemorated 67 years later by a one-day visual interpretation of the space, all done in purple vertically so you could see the lights. And as a part of the festival, many of the other buildings were also illuminated in the city, and it was an identity. One of the most iconic symbols in Sydney is its bridge. And fireworks cascading and erupting from the bridge are usually the first New Year's image people throughout the world see. But the city has done many other events, including Vivid Sydney, illuminating historic buildings, churches, the Sydney Opera House, a Sonne Lumiere. But my favorite is Breakfast on the Bridge, which is the lower right photograph.
These are a lot of people there.
6,000 people.
Wow, wonderful.
And eating breakfast on the bridge. And this is the major bridge over Sydney Harbor. So if they can do that, we should be able to do that.
On the Big Dig. Yes, wonderful.
Stockholm, Sweden is often called the Venice of the North. In the 1960s, the city undertook a massive environmental project to clean up its water quality. And by the 1990s, the city was justifiably proud of the results. The Stockholm Water Festival was founded in 1989 with a dream and an artist's sketch of what could happen along all of these 14 islands in the city center. And they ended up producing a colorful summertime festival with 1,500 events in, on, and around water for 10 days in August. And by the fourth year, it had 4 million people attending.
Wow.
The festival featured performances by its Olympic athletes, such as the high divers and alpine skiers who skied down ramps into the water, which made me think of the Charles.
Are we in Stockholm here also?
And we can do this, why
great.
not? Another unique idea was a floating stage with an 80-foot fountain. You can see it just barely in the right-hand side of the stage. And it was a beautiful panorama for the audiences to be looking at. An important part of the festival was something called the Stockholm Water Prize, which is given annually, a cash prize to the organization or person that does the most for the world's clean water. And the prize guidelines were done by the Nobel Prize Committee, so it has validity. And the prize is awarded by the King of Sweden. And there's now also a World Water Week conference that takes place at the same time. The festival became known as the Festival with the Good Cause because it was intentionally made as a for-profit festival to raise money for the Water Prize. And one profit center was a $1 million hole-in-one golf tournament, except this being Stockholm, it was crowns, Swedish crowns instead of dollars. And people shot towards a hole on a floating green. And this was an idea that was borrowed from Phoenix, Arizona. Another profit center was its duck race, where lottery chances were sold on the outcome of 10,000 rubber ducks floating across a finish line. And the winner got a Saab convertible, duck yellow, of course. And profits from both of these events went to the Water Prize. And if anybody was skeptical about ducks, you say the king thought it was fine.
Oh, right.
Okay? And the signature event was their international fireworks competition every other night. But the other thing that was interesting was in 1997, the festival was used to promote the city's Olympic bid for 2004.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yes.
As well as the city's designation as the cultural capital of Europe in 1998. Another festival is the Culture Festival, and it continues the environmental message. And I put this in because they invited Roskilde, Denmark, the festival, to come and demonstrate generating electricity
With
pedaling
bikes.
bicycles.
Oh, I love it.
And the
I love
electricity
it.
was used for the main stage.
To music, empower the music.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that was different.
Great.
And then this one I love. This is just an absolutely wonderful festival, totally designed by teenagers. And nobody over the age of 19 is allowed to attend the festival. And it's the teenagers that decide what goes on, whether it's an all-girl football team or a disco that takes place down in the subway station nearby. It's just fantastic. And I thought about the Lynch family skateboard park as a possible way of modeling this.
Yeah, there are a lot of young people are going to be there.
Yeah.
Great stage.
So 1996, Copenhagen, Denmark was the cultural capital of Europe. And we did a behind-the-scenes tour there. They had this wonderful art exhibit called Container 96. And it was a large-scale international outdoor exhibition of contemporary art. 96 juried artists from 96 world port cities were each given a 20-foot-long shipping container in which to make an artistic statement.
What a great
And
idea.
then the containers were shipped to Copenhagen, painted white, and installed on 3 tiered racks set up in a field of white gravel in the Port District. And I think this idea of a cultural capital, Boston could rebrand itself Boston, cultural capital.
Mm-hmm.
It just was a marvelous idea, and the containers, if they had thought, could have been shipped all back to the 96 and done a
Cities,
year-round tour.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to Nice, on Mediterranean in France, and they have a world-famous pre-Lenten carnival. It's a big Mardi Gras celebration and a Battle of Flowers, 3 parades every week. And this goes alongside the beautiful Promenade des Anglais, the English promenade, which is waterfront.
All right.
The floats are 3 stories tall, they move, they're articulated, and at the end of the 3-week festival season, they're brought to the water's edge at night and set on fire. Another thing they do that's innovative in Nice is that they have been using huge inflatable balloons to create an aerial parade, sort of a parade within a parade. And you can see these floating all above the people. It's so dramatic. Now we're going to go to South Korea. And I think the most fun I had in years was at the Boryung Mud Festival in South Korea. It's a coastal town famous for its cosmetic therapeutic mud. And there, with abandon, you can paint yourself with mud, have facials with mud, do mud wrestling, see a potter, slide down a mudslide, and if you are too clean, you go to mud jail. And the best thing is that almost everything is free. And if you need money, you preload your plastic wristwatch and it doesn't get muddy inside. Another town or another city in South Korea is Anseong, and they have a wonderful water festival where you can experience all the ancient ways of crossing the river from one side to the other. And the research in Korea has shown that the #1 attraction to visitors is a hands-on experience. So this is something the whole family can do. Ottawa, the capital of Canada, has adopted something called an edutainment approach to all of its events. It's a combination of education and entertainment. And it is actually a government mandate that all Canada Day performances must carry a national message. So what you're seeing here in the left photo is something called Mosaica, which is produced during Canada Day using high-tech and interaction. And people from all over Canada, because this is the capital, sent in their video testimonies and recordings and photos. And then in addition to the visual projections, these images were projected onto the building of Canadians talking about what it means to be a Canadian.
Wonderful.
Another idea is the Winterlude Festival on the right. And this is fantastic, where you ice skate from event to event, 5 miles along the frozen Rideau Canal. Now, where's the connection between Ottawa and South Korea?
And the Charles.
On the Charles. Actually, the year 2013 marked the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Canada and South Korea. And to commemorate this, Canada's National Capital Commission worked closely with the Jinju Festival in South Korea to create a spectacular 115-foot-long tunnel of lanterns. And over 1,300 lanterns were used in this. And then there were some stationary lanterns and some lanterns that you could skate underneath along the Rideau Canal. And all of these lanterns were provided by the Jinju Festival. You've heard about Dubai. You probably will have to go there to believe how absolutely incredible it is. The Dubai Shopping Festival celebrates its 20th anniversary this year. It was founded in 1996 purely as a motive for the government to stimulate retail. And since then, it's become an annual extravaganza that has not just shopping with huge discounts up to 75%, but 120 other events and activities that are going on at the same time, including this Aqua Fantasia. Now, if you look at this slide, what you can see is this has been enormously successful. Attendance grew from the first festival from 1.6 million visitors in 1996 to an aggregate of 44 million visitors spending, this makes me nervous, $28 billion and winning an aggregate of $1.5 billion in prizes. And if you want further examples of the Dubai waterfront, this is the opening celebration of the man-made island called Atlantis, which from a satellite looks like a palm tree. And to the right is the grand opening of the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, which is 163 floors. And if you thought that was something, you could have gone to Kuwait, neighboring country, and seen the 50th anniversary celebration of their constitution, where they outlined their entire coastline in fireworks, which was just absolutely spectacular.
Well, there are lots of ideas. I'm going to push you because you have another about 20 examples. So,
I do.
Yeah, wonderful.
All right. So, Genius of Place is something that is that magic that takes place. It's distinctive, and there's probably no discussion about festivals that can take place without talking about Edinburgh, Scotland, because it's amazing. In an era when most cities struggle to support one major festival a year, the city of Edinburgh supports 12, with 6 of them overlapping during August and early September. And they are, in the public's eye, publicly referred to as the Edinburgh Festival, but there really isn't one Edinburgh Festival, and there's just tremendous collaboration amongst all of these. And unfortunately, you can't read some of the economic impact there, but 3 million attendants in all of these, and
5,000 full-time
jobs, and 93% hotel occupancy, which is amazing. Now, the thing about Edinburgh is that it had this gorilla on the table called the London Olympics that was coming up in 2012, in the summer of 2012. And so, knowing that, the city of Edinburgh invested heavily in developing programs featuring Scottish artists in order to draw the visitors to London up to Scotland to the 6 festivals that are going on. You might even think of it as a guerrilla marketing campaign. And one of the things that they funded was something called the Innovation Lab, in addition to the performances, where they had a culture hackathon, I guess, where they brought in IT people who all developed new applications that were beneficial. Now, why can't Boston do that? I think that would be terrific.
I think with you back here, I think there's a chance.
Yep, and the man, it's just a great idea. Now, Creative Scotland is another funding agency, and it invested heavily in marketing to people in the Olympics, extending their budget another $125,000 just for 2012. Again, looking at an Olympic, this one I love also because we have so many joggers along the Charles, but if you look at Olympic-related marketing, the Speed of Light was a nightly performance art piece which utilized thousands of runners in special light suits to create a visual display in the hills just outside the center of Edinburgh. And with Boston and Cambridge's incredible arsenal of educational institutions and all of the joggers, surely there has to be some exciting creative things that would come up to this
It would be great to see the joggers along the river at night. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now I know you also have some swimming examples here. Wonderful.
Yeah. So in Singapore, while normally a festival may have several sporting events under its umbrella, in Singapore's case, the reverse was true. Sporting events are driving the creation of new festivals and events. Now, maybe this was spurred by their hosting the 2005 bidding conference for the Olympics, which London won, as we know. But it has embraced sports marketing wholeheartedly ever since then. And that bidding contest generated about $27 million from that. And so some of the events that took place after that in Singapore, the first ever nighttime Formula One race, the first ever Asia stopover of the Volvo Ocean Race, and the first World Youth Olympics.
All right, we have only about 2.5 minutes left, so I want to make sure you get Charlotte's website at the end. Let me just forward. Let me forward that. So make sure you have that information.
Here you are. Whoop.
Here we go. So make sure you have that information, the case studies that you can get from Charlotte, all the various case studies. And here is her website, which is Charlotte at International Events Limited.com.
Right.
So now let's go back to some of the images, but we want to make sure you have that information in case you are, we're going to be shut off very soon.
So one of the most thrilling events we ever produced was the finale of Singapore's Millennium Chinese New Year's celebration. And we brought in performers and artists from 14 countries to teach the local people costuming and float building and things like that, and working alongside with them and performing. And the next year we did another finale with this huge dinosaur. But with rebroadcasts of this Millennium finale, there were 33 million people that saw this. And one of the outcomes was that the local Singapore people were invited to perform in other parades throughout the world. So they kind of became cultural ambassadors as a result. And we did a similar multicultural thing in Islamic Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, with the production of the Kuala Lumpur International Buskers Festival Grand Parade. And again, bringing in people to work alongside, teaching them how to wear these costumes. And this I love. It was a little tiny Punch and Judy type of puppet that we took and made into 17-foot tall puppets that people wore and performed in. And the kids made this. So this was an Islamic country with Chinese Buddhist center people and international people helping them learn how to make these. We designed them and made them with
Wow.
them. And so what we get to now is this final talk a little bit about what we know we need are unique events, we need some sort of placemaking, and we absolutely need collaboration in order for people to feel like they have a sense of ownership in the event itself. And it's not just creative collaboration, it's also collaboration with the government and with business leaders. And then finally, whatever we end up producing, we have to feel like we're leaving some sort of legacy, something that makes a better world and a better place.
Yeah. Well, Charlotte, we are coming to the end, and I want to thank you. We're going to be cut off very short, so I want to make sure that people know of how to get hold of you. And thank you very much for coming today. And
Thank you.
been brought so much energy already to the Charles and to Boston. So we will implement some of these things.
Thank you, Renata. I love this. It's lots of fun. Thank you.
Very good. And now again, it's Charlotte DeWitt. People can just Google you,
Or internationaleventlimited.com.
so they
Yep.
can find you on the air.
Yes, thank you.